Latin letters, because these are the most familiar letters to those in the diaspora, thinking that most of the Lebanese people who migrated, they are in Latin America, where languages are Portuguese in Brazil or Spanish in other countries. Those in North America, they speak English. Some might speak French in Quebec, for instance. Those who are in Europe, whatever country, most of the keyboards they use are based on Latin letters. And even people in Africa, these countries have often official languages that are French or English or even Portuguese in some places. So we thought that we needed to provide the Lebanese in the diaspora, especially when the technology became available, with the tools fitting that technology and fitting their needs in a very friendly user way. By the way, this is not the only aspect that prompted us to create the Lebanese Language Institute. Many Lebanese people already use different scripts to write Lebanese. And we're going to talk about these in a moment. And you realize often that these scripts are left to the personal intuition or sometimes to some tricks, how we express some Lebanese sounds that do not exist in the Lebanese language using a keyboard. Some would use numbers to express them. But you realize that there is nothing unified here. And we realized in the Lebanese Language Institute that there is an opportunity here to satisfy both the Lebanese in Lebanon and those abroad and everybody interested in the Lebanese heritage. Because by developing a Latin system of writing and the resources coming with it, dictionaries, grammar, verbs, verb conjugations, lessons, using the online tools, we have the opportunity to standardize our language in a meaningful way and making it a vibrant language in the years to come, not only for those in the diaspora, but even for those in Lebanon, and endow it with capabilities to be used in sciences, to be used for all knowledge and research and communication means. So it was clear that we needed to define clearly the resources and also to have a modern writing system. So who are the people making the Lebanese Language Institute and what's our mission? The mission of the Lebanese Language Institute, it's a non-profit organization committed to provide the resources and the means to teach the modern Lebanese language worldwide. And we set as a goal to develop, preserve, and expand the knowledge about the Lebanese language through understanding its history, grammar, and lexicon. Lexicon means the words, basically, the vocabulary. And you had a demonstration with Maroon, for instance, about the parallel in the grammar between the Lebanese language and a language as old as the Phoenician, and also the variety of words used in Lebanese borrowed from those different languages of all the people who came to Lebanon at some point. So you recognize here some guys. Maroon, right? He is the second. Myself, the first. Sorry, I appear first. It's just that alphabetically my last name is the first one. So I am Hisham Bourjaili. This is Maroon Kisseb. Joseph Khouri is not with us today. He is in San Diego. And Tony Faddoul, or Antoine Faddoul, and he wished to be with us today. He was scheduled to be with us, but he couldn't make it. He's in Lebanon.
So who are you?
If I don't convince you who I am after all of this,
No. Tell me who you are. Yes, what's your qualification?
but we agreed on a rule at the end. I will tell you.
Right.
And you have to tell me who you are.
I will. I will, yes, I will.
Okay.
In the Lebanese language, though, we want to hear it from both of you. Yes.
رح نحكيكم باللبناني من نحن. تكرم عينكم. Does everybody understand? Maybe some do not. So we could do that. Okay. No issue at all. Okay. What's happening in the current situation? These are examples when people try to learn Lebanese and they are non-native speakers, they start learning Arabic. They cannot use Arabic books. People cannot use Arabic books to teach really Lebanese. And as I explained, it might not make a big difference for people born in Lebanon to refer to Lebanese as Arabic. But for people who were not born in Lebanon and who do not know Arabic and Lebanese, it's very difficult for them. It's a barrier if we claim that we teach you Lebanese by starting teaching you Arabic. So what is the LLL system, Lebanese Latin Letter System? Let me call it, just for simplicity, the Latin system to write the Lebanese language. There are a number of challenges with the Latin letter system to write Lebanese. You have to realize that in Lebanese, we use all the sounds existing in English, and therefore all the letters of the alphabet from A to Z of the Latin alphabet, we use them, plus we have specific sounds that do not exist in, sometimes do not exist in the current languages, Western languages, basically English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, that use also the Latin symbols. And we had a challenge here of creating a system that is complete with a limited number of symbols, meaning by complete, giving the Lebanese the ability to write all the sounds they pronounce in that, with that script, and in a way that's not ambiguous. They make no confusions because the letters would have to be well defined and the sounds well defined. And also to make a compromise, we might call it a compromise between completeness and elegance. We don't want to overcharge the script so as maybe to produce every single sound in any single dialect in any single village in Lebanon and maybe single person, but to have something, a good compromise between completeness and elegance in the way we write. And for that purpose, we developed this alphabet. You can see here, we use the same Latin letters. We followed some basic rules. We tried to choose the value of a symbol that's closest to the Latin language that's being used by the Lebanese in diaspora. But you have to realize as well that the French way of writing is different from the English way of writing, different from the Spanish way of writing, different from the Portuguese way of writing. So we had to make some compromise and manage also some sensitivities. And let me explain this. Very briefly here, I don't claim I will teach you a lesson right away, but to give you an idea, the hard letters in Lebanese, we used a dot system over the corresponding closest letter in the Latin languages. For instance, you recognize the sound da, those who are Lebanese speakers, versus the da, and the hey versus the hey, and the sa versus the s, and the ta versus the t. We have also devised, followed the same rule for sounds like r. Commonly, Lebanese use combination gh. But thinking that we want to give each letter a value, we use the letter H. So we thought by adding a dot over the G, we produce the sound re, for instance. And for the sound ge, we have written it's the Spanish jota. And some might say, well, if you produce the Spanish jota, why don't you call the jota, the J, ge? Well, the reason is in Lebanese we use both ge and j, whereas the Spanish use just the ge. So they can allow themselves to use the j, for instance, but we cannot do it in Lebanese because we need both sounds. Since very commonly Lebanese people use the kh to produce the sound ge, we figured that we could add, actually the ge is a bit special, it's inclined slash over the K. And I'm going to explain this in a moment, why we have this. Other specialties, we call them new pronunciation to some extent. When we started allocating the sounds, we realized that we could use for the sound sh, the letter C. And that could be a bit surprising, maybe, not intuitive for many people who are English speakers. Why we do this? And the reason is also simple, because the SH combination, let's say in English, French speakers would prefer to use the CH. And we could keep arguing, why you manage those people and not those people? Well, the bottom line is, in Lebanese, there is a combination of SH sounds. Some people might have visited Sahili in Lebanon. So it's written with SH, okay? We could transcribe it this way. So it's better we avoid a combination of letters like SH to produce the sh. And we figured that the letter C, actually in Latin and in Italian, it has a close value to the sh, like ch. You would say, if you remember some of the hymns in Christmas, in excelsis Deo, okay? In excelsis, it's written with a C. You would say the celi in Latin, meaning the, or ciao, for hello. Celi means the heaven. Oh, and there is the cello, the instrument, in English. So it's not that weird after all. Now, maybe one of the difficult symbols to understand why we chose the X to produce the sound A. Actually, we decided to use a Latin letter system. And since it's limited, and we realized the sound X, we could write it with a K and S in our transcript, the letter X was available for that very particular sound, the A. You might think about it, the Mexican, for instance, they would talk about Mexico, their country. And if you're an English speaker, you don't pronounce the G, you might say Mexico, okay? It's like the H, and when it's harder, it's A. That's a way of remembering it. So there is a minimal of compromise here in creating a complete system. Keep this in mind. It's not enough we create a trick to express a sound in some place with some word. You need a complete system to express all the sounds in Lebanese, all the words in a systematic way that is meaningful and that's elegant when it's written. And here are the vowels. Don't insist much. The question is what the Lebanese used before this script. They used a combination of symbols to express a lot of sounds. And I should say it was very creative and still very creative, and I respect that. The difficulty with it is that with multiplicity of symbols used by people at their whim, it doesn't make a language standardized with rules and with a way to write it that all could relate to it. I'm going to give you some examples here, some illustrations. Let's say the verb go in Lebanese. You know what go is in Lebanese? Somebody can tell me? Ruh, okay? So let's see how other might write it. When I say others, other than the Lebanese Language Institute. So you might have people writing ruh, R-O-U-H. Actually, probably they are influenced by the French. In French, O-U is U. And they write H because it's the closest to he. If you are Lebanese, you can recognize it's ruh, and if you know French. But if you're not Lebanese, you look at this, how are you going to distinguish between the he and the he? You won't be able to do it. Some might write ruh using the letter, the number 7 to express the sound he. Well, that's very ingenious, actually. And when nowadays you have computers and also cell phones and text messaging, it's very ingenious. I respect that. Now, what's the problem with this? There are a few problems. Again, the OU is French. You have to guess it's a French if you're not Lebanese. You have to learn that the numbers are letters. And this is really ugly for me, not for maybe texting between Lebanese speakers, but for somebody to learn a language, it's really a trouble, and especially if we think ahead and we want the Lebanese to be used as a scientific language for people, many of whom are scientists in Lebanon and abroad and renowned ones. It doesn't really make sense to use numbers to write words. Some would write ru with a U, probably English speakers, or Spanish maybe. Some would use the double O. Well, actually, it's also ingenious. Please come in, come in, come in, come in. There are places, don't stay there, come in. Okay. What's the problem, let's say, with the double O? Well, even in English, the double O is not unique. You have words like food, double O is long, and you have words like foot. It's written double O, but it has different value of sounds. So it's not defined in a unique way. And, well, I spare you all the details. You understood the idea. But with the Lebanese, the Latin system, you have a unique way of writing it, which is ruh. The R is always R, the U is U, and the he is he. And if you are not if you're not a native Lebanese speaker, you can recognize in a very clear way the value of each letter and the way you write it. And if you are Lebanese and you want to learn it, it becomes also a way of communicating your heritage to those who are not Lebanese, or maybe Lebanese but did not get the opportunity to learn their Lebanese heritage as a native language. Another example, the word hand, meaning in Lebanese, you know what's hand. We gave the example, by the way. What's hand in Lebanese? Eat, okay? So some might use the combination EI to produce the sound E, okay? But some might use the double E to produce the sound E, okay? And actually in English, you can use both. But that doesn't make it defined in a unique way for the people going to use it. Some use the two in the beginning. Why the two? Because there is that sound in Lebanese, hamza. So actually, the way they hear Eid is with the at the beginning. Whereas in English, we write the vowels, we pronounce it, but we make it part of the vowel. So see the complication happening here. And the same, some use the E at the end like the French, okay? In the Lebanese letter systems, it's defined in a clear, unique way. It's double I for the sound E, and it's D. So this is Eid. You cannot miss the meaning of it, and it's standardized. And the same with toys. You know what are toys? Lab, okay? Well, there's no sound I in English or in any Western language I know about. So they might write it this way, lab. But if you're English speaker, you might think, well, this is lib or leb, okay? Or liab. You cannot tell. Unless you are Lebanese, you know what you're writing. You cannot tell if you're not native speaker of Lebanese. And some use the letter 3 to express the sound A. Well, that's ingenious too. I respect that. But again, the same applies, I said before. So in the Lebanese script, if for the Lebanese speakers it's a bit surprising because they think about the X, sometimes many told me this as a feedback. We think about it as X, we don't like it. Okay, you don't like it, but you know, if you learn any language, you have to learn also the value of the letters, and it's okay to learn at least that the X translates the sound the He. And if we don't do that, we don't give the He its right for a consonance, actually we are using tricks that would not allow us to express it and to appreciate it its value. You don't have to guess anymore, just read. Let's see a sentence, how it looks like. An English sentence first. Start with it. The cute red cat is drinking milk. I like cats, by the way. So, in random Lebanese writing, you might have something like this. I say something like this because if I try all the combinations, maybe we have to fill a document here, a whole document. It's not worth it. With the LLL system, البيسي الحمراء الحلبة عم تشرب حليب. Actually, if you notice, the structure of the sentence in Lebanese is exactly the structure of the sentence. I say structure of the sentence in English. The is L, the definite article. A cute red cat, well, the order is a bit different. We say cute red cat, that's the group of words. Cat is the subject and the others are adjectives. Well, what I said is not exact in every detail, but we say البيس الحمراء الحلوة is drinking, عم تشرب. We use the عم to mean is drinking now. This is the continuous. You can't find it in Arabic. So those who are not convinced so far that Lebanese has its specific structures, there is no continuous in the Arabic when it comes to structure. In Lebanese, we make a difference between the continuous and the simple, like in English. And there is a reason. Maybe another conference when we tell you who we are.
I'm delighted to know who you are.
Sure. The English. Another sentence, come with us to get cucumber, lettuce, and something sweet. We're going shopping here. Random Lebanese, you see something like this with letters and numbers. Lebanese language system, well, I think it's clear. تعا معنا نجيب خيار وخس وشي حلو. I'm going to mention a few resources, and once I'm done, I promise to take not more than half an hour. I still have about 5 minutes. I promise you I will conclude. I hope you're enjoying so far. My friend Maroon is going to show you a few resources you have. You can have a keyboard download to your computer, or a keyboard using it online. He's going to show you some beta software. We say beta software, it's not finalized software. He's going to take verbs from you and show you how we can conjugate them in Lebanese. So if you're not convinced with that Lebanese has its own structure and logic, well, I don't know what will be convincing to you. You have the handouts. These are some of the material we produced, and actually you can see on those pamphlets, I take one of them. On those pamphlets, at the last page, if you turn towards the last page, you have the Lebanese Language Institute website. It's www.lebaneselanguage.org. You have an email address. You can send us emails for your feedback or your questions. And if we just open it very quickly, on the first page, it's a poem by Khalil Rukuz, Kufru Iman. It has